So I came to the United States looking for an education from Ghana. And I remember arriving in Philadelphia and taking an anxiety-filled taxi ride from the airport to Swarthmore College. And that ride cost me $20. I had $50 in my pocket when I arrived. So my first moments in the United States were somewhat anxious. But then I had this amazing 4-year experience of what an education is at a school that subscribed to a model of education called the liberal arts, which I hadn't heard of before I applied to school in the US. And I encountered faculty who cared, a curriculum that expanded and switched on my mind. I saw these 2 huge libraries on campus, worked in very fun labs in engineering, in the engineering department. And I lived and learned with amazingly honest students who could be trusted to take home exams, which was just amazing to me. And after those 4 years, I went to work at Microsoft as an engineer. A year into Microsoft, I visited Ghana for the first time. I'd been away for 5 years. And I was utterly disillusioned. It was a time of despair for me because Ghana was still ruled by a military government. Nothing worked. The phones didn't work. The water often didn't run. It was just wild. And I had classmates who had stayed for their college education in Ghana who studied computer science by writing code on paper, never wrote code on a machine. And I was so disillusioned, I called a friend who was doing the Peace Corps in Gabon and told him, "What are you doing there? You're wasting your time." And I came back to the US and said, I will never go back to live and work in Africa. So that was then. And then a few years later, I became a parent and everything changed. Because I saw this child and I realized that Africa matters a lot for that child, for that child's children, for a generation, a new generation. And I realized how arrogant I had been, how irresponsible. I do not have the power to disown a continent. I just don't. So, as we learned yesterday, I had to do something. And I eventually quit Microsoft to go back to Ghana to help with education. I stumbled on these words. Whatever you can do or dream you can, begin it. Boldness has genius and power and magic in it. Begin it now. So I typed it up and I put it on my mirror and I saw it every day at a time when I questioned the wisdom of leaving a good career to go do this wild thing. But before that, I did an exercise in Ghana. I went back and I spoke with my friends and family. We took any problem and asked why and get a set of answers and take each of those answers and ask why and try to drill down to what's causing all this. And we came to the conclusion that we were really talking about, what we were really looking at was a crisis in leadership, a crisis among all the people in positions of influence. Some of them were corrupt, some just accepted the status quo, people in positions of influence who had the power to act who weren't doing so. And I looked at the educational system, and I was struck by this approach of just learning by rote from primary school through graduate school, of learning in a very narrow way, universities with overcrowded classrooms and labs that didn't function. and serious incidents of academic dishonesty. I also learned that only 5% of college-age kids go to college in Ghana. And it's true in sub-Saharan Africa. The thing about 5% is that it's too small, but also it means that by definition, the people who are fortunate to go to college in Ghana will run the country one day. And so as I was looking at those classrooms and those labs, I felt I was looking at a direct predictor of what Ghana would look like in 30 years when these 20-year-olds were in their 50s and they were in positions of leadership. And so I felt this is a catalytic thing. I could get engaged with this and make a difference. And so I set about starting this organization, Ashesi University. We all understand education is about developing the intellect, but it's also about developing character. So intellectually broad perspectives, the liberal arts, critical thinking, creativity, problem solving. But character, the values of integrity and compassion and empathy, courage and grit, things that it'll take to transform a continent, are central to what we do. And so we have this broad curriculum with the humanities and the social sciences and the sciences and math. And we push everyone to be ethical. The project has involved people from all over the world. People from Africa, from the Americas, from Europe and Asia, funding from North America and from Ghana. And I love that Ghanaians walk onto this campus and they see a donor wall that has all these names, American names and Ghanaian names, and the pride that they feel with that. We empowered our students. We celebrate their potential, and we urge them to have this sense of purpose, a sense of mission, to be more excellent citizens, to inspire them to greatness. And what a journey it has been for me. I get to live with these amazing stories. In 2008, a student body in Ghana decided to adopt a code of honor for exams, to hold themselves individually and corporately responsible for ethical behavior, and to tell us that it was okay to step out of the exam rooms because they would do the right thing. It's captured the imagination of a nation. People don't believe it. People are inspired by it. All our prospective students, this is what they care the most about. And these are the people that we can give the keys to a country one day. I get to hear stories, a team of students that starts a software company, a woman who runs an orphanage, a man who turns down a huge bribe offer because it's the wrong thing to do, a woman who's climbing the corporate ladder, a man 2 years out of college leading a peacekeeping squad in Liberia. These are amazing stories for me to live with after having quit what I thought was a good career. Because this is a far more rewarding career. I have students who understand now that the best leaders are those who serve their community, their society, and get ours right. Fortune favors those who pursue their dreams, those who persist in a just cause. I have learned the peace, the well-being that comes from following a dream. And I believe that fortune will smile in Africa eventually. And the Renaissance that we dream of, that we seek, will come to pass. I believe that it will depend on inspired and committed leaders, and the manner in which we educate those leaders will make all the difference in the world. Thank you.